Hi, welcome to the Interdisciplinary Center for Staff Development at the University of Silesia in Katowice. We would like you to listen to the interview with Professor Corinnę Peifer, and this interview will be on competencies management in the university. The interview will be conducted by Professor Olaf Flak and myself, Barbara Kozusznik.
Our guest today is Professor Corinnę Peifer, who is a professor of work and organizational psychology at the Department of Psychology at the University of Lübeck. Her research focuses on topics such as flow experience, stress management, and well-being at work. She applies the flow concept to human-centered design of human-machine interaction. She is a founding member of the European Flow Research Network and Vice President of the German Society for Positive Psychology Research. You're welcome, Professor Corinnę.
Thank you so much.
So I would like to ask you several questions about the competence management at university, and your experience in this area. Professor Corinnę, what are you currently involved in academic work? What is your current work?
Yes, so my current work goes usually around the concept of flow experience. Flow experience is an experience when you are totally involved in what you are doing. So the challenges of the task, they fit perfectly to your skills, and you do not think about what to do next, but it all goes very fluently. And this is a phenomenon that interests me in my research since many years. And not only the individual experience of being absorbed in at work or in a certain task, but also what happens if a team is absorbed in a task. So the phenomenon of team flow is another thing I'm very interested in at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And what are you most proud in at your work at the university? What are your main achievements?
Yeah, so I think my main achievements are some of the publications of the past, which I'm very proud of. And also, maybe even more, the funding I achieved together with my team lately. We have several research projects going on, and now my research team grew to a very good size. Like we are 7 researchers plus me in my team. So I think, I'm very proud of my team.
Oh, it sounds very interesting and inspiring. Corinnę, I have my question connected with the competencies. Please, you told us about your achievements connected with this problem I want to ask about. What factors cause a researcher to publish in top journals?
What factors cause a researcher to publish there? I think most importantly, it's being highly ambitious in research. Mm-hmm. Also to be read by other researchers. I think that the top journals are those that are cited most often and that are read by many other researchers. And that makes the motivation to publish there. But of course, that's the intrinsic part of it, to be read and to spread the own research results. But of course, also some universities give special rewards to top journals. Or if someone publishes in a top journal, and that can of course also be a motivation to publish there. One further factor to publish in top journals is also to have good funding for highly qualitative studies. I think that the main hindrance to publish in top journals is having not enough funding and then not enough resources to, for example, pay for participants or to pay for the resources like very good equipment that you need for good research. And if you want to publish in these top journals, it's necessary that you have a high amount of participants, you have resources, for example, to do very good experiments and also to, for example, do longitudinal studies. So you need very, very good data in order to be able to publish there. And for that, you need resources.
Yes. It was very, very good remark.
I would like to ask you about creativity. It is said that creativity is the main feature or one of the main features when the researchers are concerned. What do you think? When a researcher is most creative, what factors, some features play the main role when a researcher is most creative?
So I think to be creative, it is necessary that you have enough time to think about things, which means, we as researchers often have many, many obligations from teaching to also a lot of administrative things to do. And in the end, there is really not so much time for research as we wish to have. What we need is more time also, to think and more time in one piece, like not 1 hour here and 1 hour there, but really, for example, a day or a week where we can really think through the different problems. Also, to be creative, having no pressure is, I think, something that is important there. Not to be obliged to have the creative solution tonight or tomorrow, but really having several weeks, also a night to sleep on it, or several nights to sleep on it, to really develop good ideas. Also, I think that intrinsic motivation is very important here. I can be creative in problems that I'm very much interested in. So researchers should also have the autonomy to choose topics that they are interested in, and maybe less topics that are the interest of someone else from the outside. But I think the most creative ideas come from the inside, and if it also is in line with the competencies of the researcher and the experience of the researcher. And also another point is having a very good team which is interested in similar things, but of course also having different kinds of experiences and working interdisciplinary, so they can bring their ideas together so that brainstorming is much more effective. And I think for such a team, it's also important that ideas can flow freely, so there's no hierarchy between the team members, and everybody can really speak about what he or she thinks could be relevant here without fearing of having maybe a stupid idea or something. So it's really important that everybody feels safe in this context and can also maybe sometimes speak about crazy ideas. But without crazy ideas, there wouldn't be any further development. So that belongs to creativity as well.
Yes. And Corinna, you mentioned a team, and people who are observing your achievements, and you as a professor who is so great and known in Europe and in the world, probably are thinking, what is she? What is her? What are her competencies? Corinna, could you tell us what, according to your opinion, are your competencies which are conducting you to these high achievements? Because I know that you are perfect, but people are perfect in maybe in some chosen areas. And could you tell us something about it?
Thank you so much. I wouldn't agree that I'm perfect, so thanks for the compliment. But maybe, yeah, some of the things that make me being creative, or also that help me in achieving scientific results, I think are many of the things I was just talking about, like I'm very intrinsically motivated. I'm very much interested in the topic of flow experience. I'm fascinated by the topic of flow experience since the end of my studies. I studied psychology at the University of Trier in Germany, and also already at the end of my studies, I found this topic and I followed it in my doctoral studies. And later on, it's with me all the time. So in the meantime, I'm an expert in this topic and I'm still very much fascinated by it. So I think that being interested in something is one. Sorry?
Engaged, immersed.
Yes. Yes, being interested and engaged, that's something that helped me a lot. And also, I'm in general very curious, also about the opinions of others. And I think I'm good at listening and integrating people into a team. And I think that being interested also helps a lot with being persistent. So I think that research is something where you need a lot of persistence in order to achieve results, because sometimes it can be very frustrating. You submit a paper, and I think it's normal that the feedback that you get is not always positive, but journals also sometimes don't like your submission, and then it's rejected. So it can be very hard to publish your results, even though you think it's high quality and it's very interesting. Others don't necessarily think so, but it's essential to learn from these experiences and to try again and again. And so that's another competency I think I have, combined with being really optimistic that one day results will be published.
Yes, optimism is a good trait, I think. Yes.
Yeah, so you are focused at your work on flow, and you research flow, you examine flow, how it works. So when can you get your own flow when conducting research? What are conditions of your work that you can get flow?
Conditions in my work. So it's funny because I'm also doing research in what helps people to get into flow. And some of my own research, at least I try to follow some of my own research results. And what is necessary to get into flow is, again, enough time to really perform the tasks without being interrupted. So what you need is to, for example, switch off these automatic emails that plop into your screen while you are doing something else. also it's necessary to really block times where you can work in a concentrated manner without being interrupted by anyone else, or even trying to keep some days free of other appointments. Like, for example, I also know some colleagues who block the Friday for nothing but their own research. So I really try to find these times where I can work without interruptions, and also clear goals are important for that, so that I know exactly what I want to achieve in this time frame, which is not interrupted, and it has to be realistic. So the aim shouldn't be too high for this certain time frame, because otherwise it can be frustrating again. It should be a good experience. And maybe one more thing, it depends a little bit on the personality, but at least for me, in the end, after I had several weeks to think through, so that's still important, but in the end, there has to be a deadline. So, because otherwise you can really think a lot through things and maybe never come to an end, because it can always be even better or more perfect. But in the end, a deadline is helpful also to then do all the rest of the work in flow.
It's very interesting. And I think that in your work, you mentioned some individual activities. For example, that you like to be free of pressure. But now I would like to ask you about team features. Please, could you tell us what makes people in your team ready and happy to share ideas, to talk about the problems, to be open? It is very important, but this is a group team factor. So I think that you cherish it also very much.
Yes. What helps the team to think about new ideas? I think it's what is necessary is that the team knows each other quite well, so they can be open to each other, and also that there is low hierarchy, and that everybody can just share ideas without fearing that one could think she's stupid or he's stupid. So that's, I think, the most important thing in teams, that they can be free in sharing ideas, because there's low hierarchy and low fear of failure. And not just low fear of failure, but that there is a culture of failures, which means that failures are okay. They are accepted as necessary, so you can be successful.
Yes. So this is the main. It's very interesting thing when you mentioned the failure acceptance, failure culture, or climate. Yes.
Yes.
Very good, very nice. We will remember it. Yes.
And maybe one more point added to that. I think also a clear vision and purpose of the work is necessary. So if people know it's what it's good for, it also helps to be creative as a team.
Yes.
So I would like to go into deep in this topic. What is the cause of team cohesion? And that team plays well. What do you mean like that? What do you understand when you feel? How can you feel that the team is playing well?
So I think after this time of Corona and many virtual meetings, I think that what is really helpful for a high team cohesion is meeting in presence. So I think that trust in teams, it's not just that I think, but there are also many research results showing that trust in teams is higher in teams that work together in presence compared to those working virtually together. So I really think it's worth it to at least meet from time to time to help people find trust in each other. So that helps team cohesion. It makes informal communication possible. So it means that also you can meet, for example, in the kitchen without having any work aim in your mind. You're just talking to each other about whatever you are interested in this moment. It helps people to understand what the others are working on. Also, it supports social support. So when someone has a problem and talks to another team member about it, they can help each other. So, and I think this mutual support is also very helpful for team cohesion. Being open to each other and not just looking at his or her own success, but being interested in the work of the others and helping others, that makes team cohesion possible.
Thank you very much for this important.
My next question is also connected with team members. We were observing many people, and I think that you have good experience in diagnosing their, for example, what motivates members of the research team to work? Only this inner motivation, or you see some other factors?
So I think that particularly in research team, the intrinsic motivation is the most effective. Of course, there exist other motivators, like being rewarded to publish in a top journal, for example, and of course, what is also always present in academia is usually the research assistants. Their aim is to become a doctor. They want the PhD. The PhD is of course also a reward that they see at the end of at least this scientific phase. So that can be a motivation as well. But in my experience, people can only be really good if, in addition to this aim of becoming a PhD, they are highly intrinsically motivated and really interested in what they are doing.
What are the motivation you don't like, for example, or you think that it's ineffective?
Motivation I don't like, or what I think is not effective. Yeah, as I said, if it's really completely extrinsic motivation, no intrinsic, but just the only aim of becoming a PhD in the end, I don't like that. I cannot, maybe it's also because I'm so intrinsically motivated and very much interested in this topic. And if someone is not burning for his or her topic, it's really difficult to work with that person.
Did you experience that someone was pretending that he or she is interested, and it was not in the reality? Because people know that you are so intensively motivated by your topic, so perhaps everybody is trying to be, and are people sometimes pretending it?
Yeah, I think that in recruitment processes, of course, people think this is what the others want to hear, so they get the job. Until now, most people were honest, I think, and in the end, we could.
So
the team could convince them that the topic is very interesting indeed. So yeah, we. I think it's spilled over to most of the people so far.
yes, and you are a good detector, I think. that people are really, there is a chemistry between you as a main researcher and the younger researchers who are applying to your team. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So
maybe if I may add one point to what motivates members of the research team to work. I think that autonomy is something that is also very important here. The autonomy to also think about own problems. That it's not just, let's say, my ideas that people work on, but that they are free to also identify own problems that they are interested in. And as I said, I'm interested in flow so many years, but there are, of course, many other topics that are also interesting. And I'm very open to hopefully related topics, but topics that are not my idea, but that someone else finds interesting. So I also try to motivate people to be autonomous and also to find their own research questions that they want to follow.
Oh, I agree with you very much. I have heard about some research leaders who are so jealous of their researchers that they did not really allow them to develop their autonomy. But it's a pity. I hope that this is the end of this kind of procedures.
I hope so too. And I even see in student teams, I'm quite happy that every year I have some student teams who develop their research questions. And even student teams, they have amazing ideas, and it's always so inspiring. So it really is very, very fruitful if people have autonomy in choosing their research questions for everybody in the end.
Yes, and I noticed that it is so easy when you are an authority. It is so easy to give end to their creativity, because when they see that it is unpopular or there is something wrong with this autonomy, they stop, and it is a shame. It is a waste of their potential. Yeah.
Yes.
And now much more general question about some organizational factors. What measures does your university take with respect to individuals to strengthen their competencies?
Yeah, so what our university offers is training and coaching with respect to several topics that could be helpful for researchers. And it's also very needs-oriented, because they also ask what topics could be interesting, and everybody can also suggest topics. And taking part in such training and coaching is it's not obligatory, but everybody can choose. But something or an instrument in which this can also be used is the yearly employee reviews that are highly suggested to be done between the leaders of a research team and also the research assistants. Also, this is not obligatory, but it's something that we also have a template and recommendations how to do it. And in these meetings, it's also about the aims for the following year. and doing training or coaching could be part of this yearly employee review.
Oh, very interesting form of strengthening the employees at the university. Really.
And which of the competences assessed at the level of individuals, which of competences are rewarded by university?
Maybe there is one, which is when people are very successful, they will be part of the university's newsletter. So if there is a highly ranked publication, then you can let people know, or also if you have a very successful grant that has been accepted, then it will be shown at the university's website, which is of course also very nice to see, to be appreciated.
And now I think that it will be our last question. Corinna, please share with us and with our listeners some tips you have for the leaders of the research teams. You are a leader of few research teams, and if you can advise people what kind of competencies they should really develop, and which are not so important as they suspected, because sometimes people are going into wrong direction. People, please tell us what for you very successful. So you are an example of a person who as a leader is successful. What are really needed leaders' competencies of the research team?
So I think what is really necessary is to have a clear vision of where you want to go in the next years with your research topic. To share this vision so that the members of the team are aware about the purpose of their own work. I think having the competency to provide clear aims also. So I think that these yearly meetings with an employee are a very good strategy there, a very good measure, but it shouldn't be just yearly, but more often that aims are communicated. And finally, I think it's necessary to be very well structured, so it helps employees to be effective.
Thank you. All of you would like to ask Corinna about maybe something else?
Yes. So maybe we can give you just some question to summarize. Please, just to summarize, what are the advantages of taking competences into the management system and competence management at the university? Do you think this is a good way of managing and leading the university?
Yes, I think it's highly important to look at competencies and also to support the intrinsic motivations of researchers. And I consider it much more important than all the extrinsic kinds of motivation. I even think that sometimes all the extrinsic rewards to publish in high-ranking journals or to have high funding can be hindering to creativity and really high scientific standard, because it forces people to look for opportunities rather than for the really interesting questions.
Yeah.
So, of course, maybe it should be a balance in the end, but I have the impression that in the meantime, these extrinsic motivations have become too many, and that the focus is not enough on the interests of the researchers which makes them, in the end, being very good at what they do.
Oh, thank you, Professor Corinna Peifer, for your interesting answer to our questions, and especially for the last answer connecting with the importance of the competencies. It means a lot for us because these arguments you mentioned are also very important for us. We do believe that the system should be changed. Of course, we are aware that the old measurement will survive, so we will not cancel it at all completely. But when we suggest new forms of appraisal, it will go parallelly, and maybe this system which assess our points, etc., will not be so painful when we will be aware that our competencies are developed. So thank you very much. Your answers were very inspiring, and I hope that people will believe that people who are our listeners will develop their awareness of competence management in a modern university. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.